so much more when you see silver and gold decorations on every Christmas tree. And it just dawned on me. Here I was just the other day bitching about how all the Christmas stuff comes out too early, and I'm sitting here singing a Christmas song because hey, I know I'm kind of stupid. ARC is here, berries and Fox Legion. Callum's in and Wolverine, Miss Fluffy, Memento Mori. Hey, good to see you again, pal. Fringe History Zurzul's here. Dark Dingo the Madman. Nikolai Bolkov. that's close to the name of a classic wrestler from my era. From Idaho? No, it isn't long until Christmas, Callum. God damn it. I mean, I know it's an old trope, but it's just true. The fucking year has flown by. Jesus Christ. What rights, man? Hey, Hanvu. Good to see you, pal. Well, today's kind of a Furion. I only bring that up because today's election day. I know there aren't a lot of big elections. The two biggest ones are two governor elections. New Jersey, which the Democrats going to win. And then Virginia, which is hotly contested and could well shine. It will certainly shine some light on exactly where the, and again, I don't want to make this an absolute, but it will give you an indication of where the nation's feeling as far as Democrat versus Republican. You go into it knowing that Virginia has been getting continually bluer or getting more Democrat leaning for the last 15 years. And Biden won Virginia by 10 points. He won substantially. But it looks like this is going to be really close. And it's just, does it mean a lot for the midterms? No, not a lot, because so much can happen in a year. Does it mean a lot for if those midterms were today? Yeah, it gives you a good feeling for where people's mindsets may be as far as how things stand right now. Queen Levi says, how's it going? Well, thanks. Thanks, Levi. I like that too. Well, again, I'm simple. I love those stickers, especially the pear guy. Ark says, even though I'm not in Virginia, I hope Youngkin wins and McAuliffe never gets another seat in power, not even as a head janitor. Boy, he just, I'll tell you, it's rare that, well, it's rare that one specific statement or phrase from a politician can have this significant an effect. But when he said that whole thing about how parents shouldn't have a voice in what their kids learn in school, that's up to the schools, that changed everything on a dime. I don't think he was going to win big as Biden did against Trump, but I think he'd have a 2 or 3 point lead instead of looking at a potential deficit going in. Morgan says, I'm moderate and piss everyone off. That's the best way, Morgan, to be honest with you. Well, that's me too, because I'm in the middle. And especially, again, I voted for Trump, but as you guys know, I have no issue with calling out Trump for the stupid things he does. So, yeah, like Morgan says, you end up making enemies on both sides. Someone thinks your favorite band sucks. I still love that screen name. I personally think this nation should burn and be rebuilt. I don't think we're there yet, pal. I mean, I think it's salvageable. It's just that we have a system now, regardless of party or anything else, that truly, if you think about it, in America, it's damn near impossible to make it to the national stage in politics and not be corrupt. It's just the way it's all set up. I don't see how you could possibly do it. And you would think it'd be easy nowadays, because now we do have technology that exchanges information instantly, and somebody doesn't necessarily, you wouldn't think, have to have the backing of big money to get there, because you can spread the word via internet, but it hasn't happened so far. New Mexico has an election today, but it's so ass, man. Yeah, but we've got a few seats up here in New York as well, but again, nothing of any those are the two only real significant ones as far as enough to attract the attention of people around the nation. Code says, I'm currently having coffee and boba pizza right now that my sister made yesterday during Halloween. Yes, you heard that right. Tapioca on a pizza, and I like it. Pineapple is still better. Code tapioca on a pizza? I gotta admit, I think that sounds grosser to me than pineapple even. And you guys know how I feel about pineapple on pizza. Wow. Philip says, honestly, I think we ought to get rid of the politicians and some of the more political generals. Your job is to be a general, not a politician. I agree with that. Like Miller, for example, then rebuild from there. Yeah, it's funny, Philip. It is. It's the conundrum. How do we, every generation of politicians that comes in ends up just as corrupt as the last. And like I know for the most part, whenever we talk about this, we're all in agreement of that on here, regardless of which way we lean, is why do all these members of Congress come in with, or most of them come in with modest means and end up rich in a few years? That, to me, that fact proves why you're not going to see any real reform on a national level. They're all getting fucking rich, literally, for doing nothing. I mean, I get kind of worked up. Willie says, here, I can confirm Curtis knows about Hell of Boss 7. Yeah, him and I were talking about that in PMs at the Goosh. I've got it recorded. That'll probably go up tomorrow. Right after this stream, I'm posting episode 8 of Squid Game. If you were to take anime out of the loop as far as my entertainment, I haven't seen anything I've enjoyed as much as Squid Game in decades, and I mean that literally. If you take anime out, as far as movies, TV, I haven't seen anything I've enjoyed this much. Anime I have, but that's only because of you guys that I discovered anime. Zerzul says, if I become a plague doctor, can I become the chief medical advisor to the country? Correct, yes. I promise to hack off all the limbs and burn the boils, also leeches. Excuse me. I think you're right, Zerzul. I think society took a downturn and continued plummeting right after we stopped using leeches. I think you're onto something there. Fab Force says, Curtis, what's the difference between pizza or Susan? One of them is delicious, and okay, they're both delicious. Susan Wojcicki. If my old nasty ass face keeps doing stuff like that, I'm thinking maybe she'll just retire. I would in her position. Berries. Squid Game spoiler. There are no real squids. Well, god damn it, Berries. I only have the last episode to watch, and now I'm not even interested. I thought that's where I finally got to see the squids. Aww. Secunda says corruption isn't about politics, it's a human problem. Well, yeah, I agree with you. It's a human problem, but corruption is a subset of politics. That's the problem. Totally, completely gross, Big Green. Absolutely. I've heard that one, Gabe, and I really like that one. If con is the opposite of pro, then is Congress the opposite of progress? I would say yes. The Lethal X. You got to be kidding me, bro. He says, if you haven't already watched High School DxE, that's one of the best ever. Issei, the legend Issei, and not to mention, and it seems like with every season, I get a new top waifu out of that series. God damn. But I still say one of my favorite characters in there is one of the only ones who isn't just over the top, drop dead gorgeous, because early on, the Issei Kaneko relationship is one of the funniest things I've seen in anime. I just love their and when he inadvertently uses that ability he has and knocks her clothes off and he jacks his ass up. The only thing is, I don't like when I understand it made sense within the plot, but I just didn't. Hey, Jer, I didn't like when she kind of got away from that confrontational relationship with Issei, and she's more like into him now. I liked it better when they were at each other. Gabe says we used to have Reagan, Johnny Cash, and Bob Hope. Now we have Obama, no Cash, and no Hope. I've heard that one too. Philip says, so a little news from Canada. Trudeau put 2 Greenpeace rejects in charge of positions relating to the environment. And I thought double carbon tax was bad. They're going after the gas industry. Yeah, that. Well, this whole green movement here, when their aggressiveness is towards eliminating our current means of power, basically, and propulsion for the nation, without having a suitable replacement, is just mind-bogglingly fucking stupid. But again, a lot of quote unquote solutions from the extreme left are all about style and no substance. They have ideas that sound good to everybody. It's just like saying, everybody can have a pet unicorn for every American family. Might sound fun, kind of hard to implement, and would make a mess if it even happened. And that's where they are with a lot of that stuff. Zurzel says, how to gut punch me? Werga Ganbu. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you, world, because I needed that in my life. That really messed me up. That was brutal. Especially since when Young played marbles with my pop, still have his after he passed. Oh, that's cool, though, Zurzel. That's cool to have your dad's marble. That's really neat. I like that. I played as a kid. My parents never got involved in it. I played with my cousins. I'd long since lost all of those marbles. I lost all my marbles. Yeah, but you're right. Werga Ganbu, and thank you for playing with me. Got me really, really hard, too. No, it struck me firmly. I don't want to say it got me hard. It struck me firmly. That was tough. That whole episode. Legion says, I try to focus on providing more alternatives, more windmills, dams, etc. Well, that's the thing. Whether you believe that, as you say, whatever form of new energy you believe is most effective, whether it's wind, water, whatever, you can't just eliminate what we're using now without having the replacements in place. And whenever somebody suggests things like that, to me, you stop and again, this is just me, but I stop paying attention to anything they have to say, because you immediately mark them as stupid. And why would you care about anything else they have to bring to the table? Yeah, Big Green. My marbles have been gone for a long time. Barry says, I went today to vote for PA and local judges, district attorney, and to ratify the state's charter. Not even 10 Republicans ran for everything combined. But here in Philly, everyone wants a Republican DA. Do they really? Wow, I'm surprised. I know Philly is very, very Democrat-leaning, heavily. Zurzul says, when young, I'd take the jar he had, hide it, and he'd shout out jokingly, I lost my marbles. Has anyone seen them? While I have a giggle fit. Those are good memories, dude. Those are some excellent memories. I kind of wish I still had. We used to, my cousin and I, as I said, when we would play marbles, you would have your own we had little bags with the drawstring tops that we kept them in and everything. I wish I still had some of that. Lunatic says we really needed to be investing in nuclear 10 years ago to have base supply to transition to green energy. I'm a big believer in nuclear. Yeah, agree with you. Philip says, I'm aware the Western world is going green. Developing countries somehow get a pass, but it's an idiot move to not exploit Canada's gas deposits while we still can. Alberta may secede over this. Yeah, I agree with you, Philip. I absolutely agree. It's crazy not to. This is the situation we're in currently. Yeah, and I completely agree with you. Fringe History says the biggest threat right now in politics is climate change, in my opinion. Like Russia is trying to build factories in Siberia to heat it up and melt everything. Nobody's doing anything. It's nuts. Yeah, I mean, from my reading, I do agree that climate change is real and it's here. I'm just not as convinced as some of how much control man has over it and how much he's contributed to it, only because where we are right now fits into a very specific ebb and flow that this planet has seen for quite some time with temperature fluctuations. Now, again, do I think that we're having an effect on that? Yes. Do I think it would still be taking place anyway? Yeah, I do. We'll find out soon, because if what I'm seeing from those charts and graphs is true, we should be heading on the downside of that curve here, like now. It's something that takes years and years and years to make serious movement on that chart, but we should be on the downside. So we're going to find out. We're going to fuck around and find out. Gabe says, in my opinion, the worst vice president is Dick Cheney. It's hard to say who was worse, but he was a fucking psycho. I mean, that's why I laugh. He was so over the top psychotic. You just got to laugh about it. He was nuts. And the sad thing is, he's a very smart man. That's a dangerous combination, being that crazy and that smart. Gooberman says, you guys are all talking American stuff. Did you see the state of UK politics right now? No, I like getting input from you guys abroad. Boris Johnson has been putting himself in worse and worse graces with Scotland, where I'm from. Yeah, no, by all means, Gooberman, talk about international politics as much as you like, because trust me, we get very little. You have to search within our news networks to find anything about international, because that's not what generates clicks. Didn't used to be that way. You could find stuff on what was going on throughout the world, but now they spend less and less resources for it, because there's too much more money in just trying to create any story you can around Orange Man bad. It doesn't matter if it's pertinent or not, but that's what they lead with. And that's where they put their efforts. It's all about clicks. And international stories generally don't generate clicks. Rosa says, I've recently been reading a lot about circumcision. Female circumcision is obviously illegal, as it goes against the rights of bodily anatomy. That makes me wonder why male circumcision isn't. Well, I think a lot of it, too, is because of the process themselves, Rosa. We know that whether one agrees with it or not, male circumcision is entirely safe. Can you find cases of where something went wrong? Of course you can. Anytime there's any type of cutting of flesh in any surgical procedure or any medical procedure, you can find cases where something went wrong. It's not known to be as safe for females. I mean, I'm not defending it. This is just a little bit I know about it. Zurzul says, Congress heckles Obama. Biden, please stop, guys. It's mean. Congress heckles Bush. Cheney, did I hear a quail now? Loads hunting right. It's sad when you've held a position of authority and as high up in the chain of command as Vice President of the United States of America, and the number one thing you're remembered for is shooting somebody in the face. Jeez, he was something else. I'm Dick Cheney. What the hell were you in the way of my shotgun for, you son of a bitch? Philip says, and the thing about Alberta seceding is I think they mean it. I've been reading a little bit about that, Philip. Again, can't get any news on it here, but on social media and stuff, oil makes up a huge part of their economy. In fact, they're huge contributors to the Canadian economy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know until, you come in with more details, you and Gimster, about what's going on up there. But I have seen a lot of secession talk on social media. I mean, a lot, to where you have to be thinking it's something that's being taken seriously. Let's see. I think that hurt them too, Schmidt and Rose. Rose says McAuliffe's campaign mostly ran on TDS. Yeah, you're finding too much of that, I think. And again, I lean right at the moment. Always reserve the right to amend that. But I think Democrats are hurting themselves now. They've gone too over the top of everything is anti-Trump. And a lot of moderates, the people you're trying to win over, have moved on from Trump for the moment. And that's not what they want to talk about. I mean, look at that stunt that the Lincoln Project pulled the other day. Putting the tiki torch dudes in front of Youngkin's bus, that can't do anything but hurt McAuliffe. That was absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I mean, we talked about Russian interference in elections for how many years, and what the Russians did was less egregious than that, because the Russians could only get to us by tricking stupid people into clicking links on Facebook. Here you've got factions within the United States trying to make it look like people have come, that white supremacists were coming out to stand in solidarity with a candidate. I mean, that's just fucked up. Kaiser says they'll talk about saving the planet's ecosystem one minute and then the next minute nuke it globally. Well, you gotta wonder too. You gotta see the the idiocy of them having these big meetings right now going on about saving the planet and so on and so forth. And rather than doing it digitally, which is the easiest thing in the world now, they have everybody flying there from all over the world, leaders flying in. Does that strike anybody else as mind-bogglingly stupid? You could have made such a powerful statement by saying, okay, we're going to do all of this via Zoom because we're not going to contribute to the problem by having airplanes flying in from all over the world. But again, there's going to be too many photo opportunities at things like this for all these politicians. They're not going to give up on that opportunity. It's all about everything is all about the votes first, and anything else be damned. Rosa says it isn't about safe or not safe. There are no health benefits for circumcision. If you want to get circumcised as an adult, go ahead, but circumcising your child violates their rights. No. No, I disagree with it. It is absolutely about safe or not safe. To say that, I think is absolutely wrong. If it were unsafe, then I think it shouldn't be allowed at all. But circumcising your child violates their rights. I don't know how much, as a society, when you think about it, how many rights do we give to children? Parents make certain decisions for their kids all the time. Now, if one of those decisions they make is they believe that is whether it's religious or they just feel it is a cleaner, safer way for them to live their lives going forward, I don't know. It's when you talk about children and rights, that's a tough one because kids don't have a lot of rights. Parents have to make their decisions for them all the way up to 18 on a lot of different things that will directly affect them later in life. It's just the way we've set up society. And of course, it's a necessary evil. Kids can't make cogent decisions because they haven't developed enough to be able to do so. Pizza Man says, did you see the pilot that said, let's go Brandon on a flight? Got compared to an ISIS sympathizer by the media. Oh my God, Pizza Man. I can't believe how much that let's go Brandon thing tweaks everybody seemingly on the left. I mean, they're over the edge about it. And when you see all the things that were said for 4 years about Trump nonstop, so much more vile, hateful, and completely accepted, and all of a sudden, let's go Brandon is, you see people all over social media saying the guy's got to be fired right away. He's got to be mentally unstable and blah, 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 blah. It's like, should he have done it? No, it's not appropriate. Nobody in that position, I don't think pilots, anybody like that, doesn't need to be making any type of statement that could be related back to politics. But is it a big deal? No. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, if that is actually what the guy said, boy, if you hear the audio, it's really hard to tell. Some people said he was saying, let's go Braves to try and, because the flight was out of Houston and the World Series is the Braves versus the Astros. He was trying to tweak people on the plane, just bust their balls. I don't know. I'm not sure what he said. But even if he did say, let's go Brandon, and you find out that's what he said, to me, that's not a fireable offense. It's a reprimand. It's something you put in the guy's file. He didn't hurt anybody with it. I mean, people need to calm the fuck down a little. Zurzel says, when do we see Big Bald Man versus Dummy 2 Boogaloo? There was a little bit of that. I posted one of those YouTube shorts one day of Bob just getting punched in the face repeatedly. Garrick says, are you going to do a reaction to some Team Fortress SFMI Crash Mall? It's both action-packed and hilarious. You love it. Probably not anytime soon, Garrick. I've got so many things that we're doing on the regular now with the channel that we all seem to enjoy that I can't see branching out into anything else anytime soon. Just because, again, there's just so many things we're doing in a specific vein. What I love about Let's Go Brandon, Lunatic says, a lot of people who aren't comfortable swearing can now say FJB. Yeah, that's true. I just can't believe that has tweaked people this much. I mean, more than anything else, it's a meme. And it wouldn't exist if you didn't have that dipstick reporter trying to pretend that they were saying something other than what they were. But to have, if this pilot actually said it, I mean, people wanting him fired and wanting him looked into, and it's all out there. I'm not making it up. It's all over social media. You can go find it. If people thinking he needs to be mentally reevaluated, it's like, God, you fucking pussies. Philip says, we've had secession movements in Quebec. Of course, they always use it as an extortion tactic. They'll never leave. They benefit too much from threatening it. Alberta, I feel, will actually do it. I kind of wondered, Philip, because again, just the, without even knowing all the specific details, the vibe you get on social media is a really serious vibe from about the whole secession. Zerzul says, Among Us was fun, even if the stream turned on me. Oh yeah, Among Us has always been fun to stream. We've had a lot of fun with that. That's just a fun game, especially when you just got a good, group of friends like this to play. Raging Krogan says, have you seen any of ST Black ST stuff? No, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with that name at all, my friend. YouTuber, I take it? Because I'm not familiar with that name. Thomas says, did anyone notice there was a black guy in that picture with white supremacist? But yes, immediately I noticed that. It was so horribly put together and so obviously a scam right from the get-go. But I mean, that's some seriously, in a world full of dirty political moves, that's pretty slimy. Because again, you got a nation all up in arms here over Russia's trying to influence our elections, even though governments, including our own, try to influence elections worldwide all the time. Now, Russians changing a vote, even a single vote for us, that's a problem. Russians fooling gullible Americans into believing shit that isn't true, I don't see that as that big a problem, because you have Americans fooling people into believing things that aren't true every single day, millions of times a day. So when you actually physically go out there and physically place people who are supposed to be representing white supremacism in front of somebody's bus, that's kind of a fucking problem. Yeah, Big Green says, unless there's a good reason for it, I don't think it's going to be a 24-hour stream in a while. I don't think so. You know what it is, Big Green? I didn't even mind doing the 24-hour stream. It's the lag afterwards. How it beats you up afterwards. And my day, especially now because we're getting ready to go away, my days are so full with what I do now. When I get like a couple day lag after that 24-hour stream, it really affects me trying to get my regular stuff done. That was a bigger deal than just staying awake for 24 hours. Legion says, I don't necessarily trust Biden, but he's better than Trump or any of the Clintons. Here's hoping Jill Stein makes the office next time. Oh yeah, I'm not a Stein fan either, Legion, but you guys know my political beliefs. I wouldn't be a Jill Stein fan. Rosa says, the right of bodily integrity is the right warranted to both children and adults. Alcohol is something that you don't do until you're 21. Why not let kids decide for themselves when they're adults? Parents can decide to let them when they're adults. I don't think it has to be mandated. Plus you have religions where that's a very sacred procedure for whatever reason, and I think they're entitled to that. So no, if you're saying should it be mandated that a parent can't make that decision, no, I don't agree with that. Again, parents make decisions on behalf of their children all the time. and it's not a procedure that's going to lead, by any stretch of the imagination, that we should believe is going to lead to any type of severe medical consequences later. I'm sure there are plenty of people, more and more so, who are just going to allow the children to make their own decision on that. Let their boys make their own decision on that. But do I think it should be mandated? No, I don't think so. Raging Krogan says it seems Donald Trump will run in 2024. Sounds like he's serious about it. I hope he does, and I hope he can undo the damage done. You know what, Krogan, as somebody who leans right, I'd rather he didn't run. Between his age, I mean, he is getting up there, and it does become, it's more and more of a risk factor the older you get. Once you're into your 70s like that, I mean, it's, there's a lot more things that go wrong. We're seeing it with the current president. There's a lot more things that go wrong with your mental faculties. And given his abrasive nature, I would love to see him just throw his weight behind a candidate who believes the same things that he does, but I just don't think his ego would let him do that. Kevin says, how much you paying for gas, Curtis? $3.30 here north of Boston. I was paying half that a year ago. Yeah, we're close, Kevin. We're at, what did I just pay? $3.55. The other day I paid $3.55 right here on the corner. Yeah, we're typically usually a little higher than you guys because we have as high as you guys are taxed in Massachusetts. We can beat it. Our gas taxes are even a little higher than yours. So yeah, $3.55 I paid the other day. Yes, and I was paying half as well. Fringe History says it just sucks that our politics now have come down to picking the lesser two evils. Ain't that the truth? Geez, no wonder everyone's you're not wrong. You're not wrong, History. I mean, I'm, and again, regardless of who I voted for, we've had two presidents in a row that are so full of shortcomings and faults, and are really two people that don't function well on an international stage. But these are the choices we end up with. Philip says, Alberta definitely could benefit a great deal more from seceding, compared to their current situation where they contribute a lot of capital but have very little say, as opposed to Quebec. Well, you're explaining for me, Philip, explaining for me well why I'm seeing so much about it on social media. Because again, when you're a peruser of social media, you get the feel for stuff that's just hyperbole, as opposed to when something that seems more serious. And it just, with the way it's being approached, it just seems like people are really serious about it. And I didn't know all the details. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Rainy Friday says, I used to think I was leaning more right as I got older, but I realize I've been the same, only the spectrum has been shifting more left. I think that's true too, Rainy Friday. I agree with you on that. I do think we've had waves of that. That happened also in the 60s and 70s with the hippie movement, where there was a pronounced shift left. And that seemed to come back somewhat. And since then, it's like ebbed and flowed. But no, I don't disagree with you at all on that. I think that's true. Well, Raging Krogan says DeSantis would also be a good pick. Let me put it this way. Regardless of excuse me, who you may want to support, the one thing that's for sure, Krogan, is DeSantis is almost down the line, ideologically, the same person as Trump. But at least DeSantis doesn't come with quite the excessive baggage that Trump does. Trump is terrible about how his public persona and how he goes about dealing with people and situations. So you'd have the same basic philosophies of governance without all the bullshit. But I don't think Trump's ego would let him step back and just push someone else forward. Kaiser says, has Trump's speech pattern declined over the years? It's been noted that he used to speak more sophisticated. I think so. I just, again, living in New York, we have known Donald Trump for decades. He's been a celebrity and somebody in the news here forever. Yes, I do think I think that's understandable at his age, but yes, I do think there has been some drop off. I think he was clearly more eloquent when he was younger. Rosa says the Constitution guarantees the right of bodily integrity. That means the parent has no say over it. Also, the religious argument is very weak. There are religions that value virgin sacrifice. No, the religious argument is not very weak because something else. See, virgin sacrifice involves the murder of someone. That's covered elsewhere. This is not murder. We're talking about we're talking about a circumcision here. You'd have to make the case, Rosa, that this is a violation of bodily integrity. And I'm just telling you, I mean, I obviously you're passionate about it. I don't know what you want me to tell you, but I don't think you can legally make that case successfully. I just don't. It's too much of an accepted practice. I don't think you'll ever make that case. I don't even think it'll get taken seriously. That of actually disallowing parents from having their children circumcised, because it is such an established and accepted practice. And you can say, well, just because it's accepted doesn't mean it's right. And that may be true, but it's still part of how all this stuff gets put together. I don't think you could ever make that case. I don't think you'll would ever get a court in America to say that that's a violation of the child's bodily integrity. I don't see it happening. Wolverine says the stream ball's up for grabs, and he grabbed it. Yes, it is. You grabbed it right by the nuts. And he backed it up with a $1 one just to make sure. Well played, Wolverine. Bob Junkel says circumcision seems to be the least of our issues. Yeah, and what I'm saying to Rose is I don't even know if I agree or disagree, to be honest with you. I'm circumcised. I don't have a problem with it. My son is circumcised. I don't have a problem with it. But with what she's asking, just my honest opinion, I don't think there's a chance in hell that you would ever get that mandated, particularly with it being so important within certain religions, that you get it mandated that parents could not make that choice. Schmidt and Rose says, I've seen people online speculating that with the polarization we're seeing, we could be heading towards another civil war. What are your thoughts? I think we're closer to it than we have ever been in my lifetime. It's not to say it's an inevitability. There was a report or there was a survey I saw the other day, a poll, and it asked, I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. It asked, do you think that violence is going to be necessary to right the wrongs in American society? Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically the question. 30% of Republicans said yes. But to me, what was even more stark was, and I might be off a number or two, but this is very close, 17% of moderates said yes. 11% of Democrats said it. Those are big numbers. Even 11% is a big number when you're talking about, do you think there needs to be violence to get things corrected? Holy shit. Those are big numbers. that was eye-opening. Legend of Joey says, hey man, I love your channel and content. Thank you. I'm from the UK and our healthcare is free, but do you think the USA would run better if it was also free? No, I don't. For the top thing, Joey, our government here has never, ever given me even the slightest sliver of confidence that they can run anything of a large magnitude or a small magnitude effectively. The biggest social program we probably have here is Social Security, and they've made a complete and utter mess of that. If you look at the numbers, as far as how much money has been put into Social Security since it was instituted, and the number of people that have retired, Social Security should be flush with money right now because all the boomers paid in for all those years and they're just now starting to collect. If that money was taken and invested in the most secure, non-risk ways imaginable, there should be tons of money in there. There isn't because our politicians fucked it all up. For years, they would just take, both sides would take from that fund for this project, for that project. And we have a unique situation here where the cost would be so insane to get single payer health care. The things that I've seen, the outlines I've seen for instituting it, way, way, way undercut what the actual cost would be for reasons such as they don't take into account how many more people would be seeking medical attention, in whether warranted or not. We've certainly got our share of hypochondriacs here. And more importantly, they always do it based on what Medicare pays. Hospitals will tell, anybody in the health profession will tell you, if you went single payer and you only paid the Medicare rates, all the hospitals and doctors would go out of business. Aside from that, there are other solutions. I'm a perfect example. This can be done on a larger scale. Everybody talks about how healthcare in America is an absolute mess. It's not true for everybody. It depends on how you've approached that throughout your life. There are ways to have set yourself up fine. I stayed in my job and retired from it because I had excellent healthcare benefits. And especially when I got into my job, there were a lot of them out there that did. So now I'm retired. I pay zero for my healthcare. I have a zero monthly payment. My co-pays, when I go to the doctor, it's a $20 copay. If I go to the emergency room, it's a $75 copay, nothing more. They cannot charge me more than that. I get the $75 copay and that's it, no matter what my stay is. Now, that's a quality healthcare plan. And there are others like me all throughout. There's 100 million people or so that have healthcare that they absolutely love in this country. You only hear about the people who who haven't taken those steps to take care of. Now, can improvements be made to the system? Yeah. And there's a lot of obvious ones that they just overlook. As in everything else with America, it's always got to be, well, this isn't working for some people, so just tear it down and start over. Unfortunately, that's the way we seem to approach everything here. Andrew says, I'm circumcised, makes me more aerodynamic when I fight. I hadn't thought of that, Andrew. This physique, I'm not aerodynamic to begin with, so that tiny little rudder ain't going to have an effect on it. Sinister Charlie says, how close are we to civil war? Well, people were willing to stab each other over toilet paper 2 years ago. What happens when there's no food? Yeah, good point, Charlie. Yeah, and again, that's not hyperbolic to say at all that this is the closest, I believe, our nation's ever been to violence in all the years that I've been alive. I mean, back in the 60s and 70s when you had the hippie movement and you had the hippies versus the conservatives, yeah, and you also had you had a lot of race riots, things along those lines. And there was violence within that, but it was contained to the matters at hand. You had a group of people who were trying, through any means necessary, which they needed to do at the time, trying to just be recognized as humans and equal in our society. But it was separate from what we have now, which is an entire nation of, I'm over here, I hate you and want you to die, I hate you and want you to die. And there's so many people that are just, that's what it is. If you do not align with them politically, they want you gone, is the way it seems now. There you go. Andrews makes a good point too. My copay is $30 and insurance is $104 a month. Have dental, vision. Wow, that's a really good one. Yours is even better than mine. Have dental, vision, medical, etc. I have medical and vision. I don't have dental on mine. That's really good. But Andrew makes a good point. There's plans like that all over the place here. It's the rest of the world, because that's all you guys ever get to hear about, is where things don't work. The rest of the world doesn't realize that this system is not falling to pieces. There's a lot of people who are doing quite well with their health care. Legend of Joy says, appreciate your comments, thoughts on it. Well, I appreciate you bringing it up. This is what I love about these streams. Just all the different things we can discuss. Raging Krogan says, have you ever listened to Michael Savage? I have not in a long time. I used to hear him quite a bit. I was working odd hours, and he would be on a lot, but I haven't listened to him sometime. He wrote a book called Stop the Coming Civil War, did he? Because what did he call it? Savage Nation, when he was on the radio. Yeah, I've listened to him. It seems I don't agree with him on everything, but whoever agrees with another person on everything. Seems like a pretty decent dude, though. Willie says, when weed was legalized here in Colorado, all the money was meant to be sent to schools. They never saw a penny. Also, uncircumcised means free cheese. Ah, Willie. Gross. That was going on here. I haven't kept up with it, but same thing with our lottery system here, our lottery games. Right when they were instituted, that money was supposed to go to schools. And I guess there's been, over the years, there's been a lot of issues with it not finding its way to where it was supposed to go. But again, huge shock. Who is surprised by that? Joshua says, Senpai, what did I miss? Some pretty good conversation today, pal. We talked about everything from circumcision to red versus blue. Well, not red versus blue, the cool red versus blue. Right versus left. And Peter says, I need to pay 2.5K back to the taxman since I got too much health care allowance. The rule is people who get health care allowance, your max salary is 30K per year. When you're married, it's 40K per couple. Really? That's interesting. Yeah, but like I say, what was described earlier, when you're talking, like Andrew said, if he's paying $104 a month with a $30 copay, you bet your ass I'd take that over a single payer every day, because you're going to pay a shit ton more than that to keep a single payer system in America afloat, each individual. And like I say, I pay nothing, and I have excellent coverage. I paid for years while I was at my job, but what I paid was reasonable. I think when I left, I'm trying to remember, because what it was is we would pay 10% of the premium, and the employer paid 90%. Or maybe it was 15. But anyway, I'm trying to remember. I think when I left, I was paying about $160 a month. But that's for excellent health care. And as long as you're retired from there, once you're retired, you keep it for free. Now, that's not true with the newer hires. In fairness, I was hired so long ago that I was in with that group. The newer hires can keep their insurance. They just keep paying that same rate, whatever they retired at. Millie Joe says, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are president. They're the swinging vote. All Democrats are selling out senators bought out by corporate PAC owners. Well, the thing, though, there, Millie, more so with Manchin even than Sinema, because Arizona is purple. It can go either way. I don't know why anybody's surprised. Democrats can be annoyed. They can be frustrated with Manchin if they want, but you can't be surprised. The reason West Virginia is really, really red. The reason Manchin got voted into office as a Democrat there is because he has so many, even as a Democrat, he has so many conservative values. So to expect him to just abandon all of those to stay with the party is not reasonable. Sinema is the same as true. It's not as cut and dried, as black and white as it is with Manchin. But if you look back at his career, there's no reason to believe he would be going along with that 3-point-something trillion dollar Build Back Better. There's nothing there. Nothing. And to be honest with you, the Democrats talk about, well, we got to get rid of him. Well, then you're going to have a Republican. Because the odds of a Democrat winning that seat, if he or she isn't of the same ideology as Joe Manchin, is slim to none. Virtual Fireball says both parties, Dems and Republicans, should be ashamed. There's a lot of things. I agree with you. There's a lot of things they should be ashamed about, but they have no shame, Fireball. No shame. They're like, yeah, we're fucking you guys. What are you going to do about it? None. Barry says, my mom had Medicare and Medicaid. Technically not free. She had $75 taken from her SSI every month for it and was her best decision. Never had a copay for any of her surgeries or hospital stays. Right. There's a lot of parts of our healthcare system that works here. Do we need to fix areas of it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't think you fix it by tearing it all down and going to single payer. I think what we would end up paying here as individuals to keep that system afloat, a lot of people would not be eating. I really believe that. Big Green says, what kind of a chin is a man chin? Exactly. Code says, we need more entrepreneurs to enter the healthcare industry. You just can't trust the government to handle that shit, especially when the prices are not very transparent. They sure aren't, Code. They sure aren't. And there's a lot of areas for improvement, and the government could do it and won't. But again, like the cost of pharmaceuticals. Now, in fairness, I try and look at all sides when I bring this stuff up. I know a lot of people are like, pharmaceutical companies are evil. Well, are they evil? Sometimes, yes. They're doing a great service to humanity as well, though. And when you look at what a pharmaceutical company makes on a pill, for whatever specific medicine it may be, it's not fair to just look at it and say, well, it only costs them whatever $1 to create a whole box of this particular medicine, and they're charging us 20. What you have to look at is how much did it cost them to develop that. I mean, it's only fair that they should be able to recoup that money, which is typically tens of millions of dollars, if not more, into research and development to come up with it. So it's not that cut and dried. Now, the other side of that coin is when you have, like the pharma bro there, when you have a medicine that's been out for years and it sells at X price, it sells at $5 across the board, and then they discover that it also serves another purpose for, say, the beauty industry, or something that helps for aesthetics that people get electively, and then big pharma discovers that, well, hell, they'll pay anything for that. They really want that. Now it costs $700 per pill instead of the $5. Then that's a problem. That's a major fucking problem. But fortunately, that's one of the reasons that Farmer Bro is in jail right now. Possible missed super chat, Wolverine? Thanks, pal. Let me look. Both parties, Dems and repost. Saw that. I saw Millie's. Yeah. I don't think I missed one, pal. Senpai, what did I miss? We guys here in Colorado. You're listening to Michael Savage. Appreciate your thoughts and comments. Oh, wait. Timothy, thank you. I did miss one. Thank you, Wolverine, very much. I completely missed Timothy's. I apologize for that, Timothy. Don't forget how well the government does at giving public schools their fair share of funds. That's what we're touching on there, yeah. and even when it's specifically designated, like I say, with the lottery system, it goes right back, Timothy, to what we said about the whole Social Security thing. It was supposed to be money for a specific purpose and that purpose only. Well, it's on the verge of being bankrupt because politicians can't handle anything. They can't be trusted to handle anything. Johnny says, as someone who is apolitical as you can get, this Virginia election is going to be entertaining to watch on Twitter. Oh, isn't it, Johnny? It most certainly is. It's going to be funny if you were to see Youngkin win. Twitter will be funny because obviously Twitter leans way left. Twitter's extreme left, a big hunk of it. You're going to see them fighting amongst themselves for which way they're going to spin that. Some of them are going to say it's the end of the world, of course. Democracy is dead, so on and so forth. We should all the planet should be blown up because this means Orange Man is back. Then you're going to see the others who are going to try and spin it as something else. It didn't mean that much. No, they did that. It was all the Lincoln Project. They did that thing in front of the bus. Otherwise, he wins. Some will try and rationalize it and say it's not the end of the world, which it isn't, but it's a really bad harbinger for them. And others will just go on, burn it all down. That will be fun to watch. You are correct. That's why it'd be way more entertaining for Youngkin to win. Legion says, in ancient Athens, only the rich paid taxes. It was considered an honor and people competed to provide the most... Really? Well, of course, the overhead back then was a little different too, though, but that's cool. Alucard says Youngkin should win. He has way better policies than McAuliffe. Well, it's amazing, Alucard, that if nothing else, that there's even a real legitimate chance he will, because 2 months ago I would have never imagined that. I thought McAuliffe would win by double digits. Pink guy. Lunatic says, I think we'll see voter turnout over 100% in Virginia since they are so passionate. How's the kids? Kids are doing good. Everybody's doing good. Brax is in his senior year. College, it just doesn't seem possible to me. Yes. Oh, there's always more Orange Man, bad, big, green. You know that. Even with the news agencies, it's funny when you watch the mainstream media and how they trip over themselves to just try and tie Trump's name into anything, into any story, because they want clicks. It's just, that's why, again, as I said, we don't get any real international news because it's not as click worthy as how did the Orange Man factor into this. He's the best thing that ever happened to them, whether they believe it or not. Well, guys, I'm gonna have to go. I will, for those who've been following along with me with Squid Game, I'll post the next episode of Squid Game right after this. I'll go put that up now. I got some more stuff. I'm getting everything done ahead of time for while we're gone. We leave on the 13th. So I've done a pretty good job. I've got most everything in place I need while we're gone over at the Goosh. In this next week and a half, I'll be getting a lot of the G100 videos done at the Goosh. And at the same time, I'm also building up videos here at the YouTube channel so I can keep them flowing for you guys while we're gone too. But thank you for this conversation. This was a really, really good one. I really enjoyed this one. And Legends, Joey has to go right now. I'm off my guy at 6:30 p.m. Oh, so you're 4 hours ahead? Thanks for the conversation. Talk's been fun. Enjoy your night, have more money, and get yourself a nice beer. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate it a lot. And perfect timing. We're leaving at the same time. Couldn't have timed it better. Again, guys, thank you for this conversation. It was a lot of fun. I so enjoy discussing things with you guys. It's always so... Hey, and Joey took over as Stream Boss right as we leave. It's always so much fun and honestly so informative. You guys deserve to pat yourselves on the back. You keep these conversations entertaining and without vitriol and really operating at a high level. I have a great time. So today's sticky stuff is going to be kind of studious sticky stuff. It's academic sticky stuff today because we had high-level cerebral conversations. It's cerebral sticky stuff. I have no idea what that's going to be like. You guys are about to find out. Pampu, pampu, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff. Ooh, it's got like gray brain matter in it. It's still a collector's item. Sticky stuff for you, because we'll bang, okay? Flashy like always. We'll bang, okay? Flashy like always. Flashy like buggy. And as always, most importantly, I don't know how cerebral it is, but it's always entirely badass. Goosh, 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 goosh. Goosh. Guys, I'm getting old. I can't even do the outro anymore. Ow.